let's talk about the new Dewdrops palette from Dieverune Cosmetics. There is a 6-pan eyeshadow palette as well as 4 loose pigments and also water droplet glowy kind of iridescent face gems, and I was sent this collection from Dieverune Cosmetics. I am friends with Monica, the owner, and I also did the design for the eyeshadow palette, so I am biased. And I also have a non-affiliated code with the brand I will put up on the screen in case you're interested in anything in this launch. I'm going to be showing you detailed swatches of each of the shimmer shades, including the loose pigments first, and then I'll get into some comparison swatches with the palette, and then I'll show you how I created this look. So let's get right into it. First shade is Plop, which is a pale pink that has blue flecks throughout it. It's a very dimensional shade, and I see an orange to peach to orange all the way to a little bit of a green at a very harsh angle. Feels very smooth. Drip is a light yellow with green and pink flecks throughout it. It is a multi-chrome, but I don't really see too much of a shift happening. But it is a very sparkly. It feels a little bit more textured in the pan, but it spreads out very smooth. Drop is a more iridescent type of shade with a yellow base. It's pretty subtle. You can really only see it in certain angles. And it's indigo straight on, shifting to a really bright ultraviolet. Splish is a white iridescent, slightly silvery leaning. Has a little bit of a green, very light pale green shift to it, and pink sparkles throughout, and it feels very smooth. This one moves around in the pan just a little bit, but it doesn't feel wet or squishy or putty like. Splash is more of a tie-dye shade, so this one is going to probably vary a little bit each time you use it, and it is very bright straight on with pink flecks throughout it, and it shifts to a blue purple, and it feels very smooth. Splash is a very vibrant pinky purple straight on, and it shifts to a peach all the way to orange to yellow and a green at a very harsh angle. Onto the loose pigments, I'm using the Karla Cosmetics Fix Potion to apply these. This is Drizzly. This one looks a little bit more like a lighter orange, yellow, gold straight on. And when it shifts, I see so much dimension. It does obviously go to green. There's a little bit of blue as well. But I also see a little bit of pink, almost like it's in the base. And it is super smooth and very sparkly. Next shade is a Bubbly. I see green with pink, blue, orange flecks in it. It's a super dimensional shade. It does seem like the particle size on this is just ever so slightly bigger than the previous shade, and it is super extra sparkly, and it shifts to a blue. I see a little bit of a yellow base to this one. Next shade is Fizzy. I'm not really sure how to describe this one straight on. It's kind of like a neutral, maybe slightly pale yellow leaning shade with so many orange sparkles throughout it, but it also is like a little bit silvery at the same time, and it does have a little bit of like kind of like a shift to yellow, just almost going into green at a really harsh angle. It is very sparkly, very dimensional. Dewy is a beautiful lavender shade that shifts to aqua all the way to green. There's also blue in between, and then maybe even a little bit of like a champagne in there. It's a very beautiful, super shiny but very smooth at the same time kind of shade. So my mic died, but I used the Morose Magnolia shade from the Gloomy Gardens palette, and I just put it on my outer corner. I'm gonna wipe off this brush. This is one of the Fantasy Cosmetica new brushes. It is the E02. It's like a really nice small blending brush, so I'm just wiping that off. I'm gonna go into the Moth and the Moon palette. I'm gonna pick up this coral shade, and it's going to go right into my crease, as well as I'm gonna use it to blend out the shade on the corners. And then I'm gonna go back in with a little bit of Morose Magnolia and bring it underneath my lower lash line on the outer corner. Just a little bit more. And then next I'm picking up Splash on my finger. Look at that shift. And it's just going to go all over the lid. I'm just kind of tapping it on. And I'm taking this Fantasy Cosmetica brush. This is the EO3. And I picked up Splish and I just misted it with some water. And I'm just going to create a little accent right in above my inner crease. Just like that. And then I'm going to pick it up on my pinky. Pop that on the inner corner. Just going to pick up a little bit more. And then wiping off the brush, picking up Plop and misting my brush. And that's going to go right underneath the lower lash line. I just picked up a little too much. It can pick up a little bit chunky, but it does smooth out. And here's the finished look. I think the loose pigments fit really nicely with the theming, and they are very, very beautiful, very punchy, and very dimensional shades. I do gravitate towards pressed eyeshadow, so I'm very excited to see a little 6-pan special shimmer shadow palette. I love the color selection in here. I think you're getting a little bit of everything, and you can use these on their own, all over the lid, just one and done kind of looks. You could also use a matte in the crease with these. You could also layer these over darker, different colorful matte shadows and get totally different kinds of looks. I love how small and concise this palette is. I'm glad to see none of these shades are really wet or really squishy or too emollient. Some of them have a little bit of give to them if you really push them in the pans, but I think it's because they're a little bit on the slightly flakier side when they're in the pan, but they don't feel wet down when you actually swatch them. So I will keep you updated on how these wear. So let me know in the comments below what you think of this launch, and if you plan on picking anything up, I would love to hear your thoughts. And that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.